The president of Brazil made a very interesting speech at the UN last week, and I don't see anyone talking about it. Likely because they don't want it out. I don't know. It was very telling that he might have been putting out a little bit of information that they are looking into a Nuremberg of sorts for what's occurring right now with this corona. You see, a lot of people are now trying to go back to the China situation, and oh, China did this, and China. It doesn't matter at this point. None of that matters. I don't care if China actually purposely released it, because you know what did the damage? The damage was done internally. The damage was done by those running our countries, not because they wanted to be safe, because they wanted to be tyrants. That's a fact. Because we've had the bird flu, we've had Ebola, for goodness sakes. Ebola was going on at the same time as this, and they had still had people flying in from the DRC and they didn't care. You know, none of this was about safety. And like the president said, the president of Brazil said, what are they doing with this treatment? Like, there's early treatment, yet no, they're not doing it. He's like, that's what we're focusing on. He sounded like he's right in line with DeSantis, you know, saying the same type of things. And he said a few other things that, you know, were very interesting that you don't hear very often in today's environment of LGBTQ plus nonsense. But we're gonna listen to that real quick, and I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. It just sounds very interesting. And for those who don't know, if you haven't been watching my channel a long time, I've been saying that Brazil is likely going to be the new superpower of the Americas. That's just a fact. It just is. And I believe that, like, Florida is going to kind of work with Brazil. They already are, but, you know, like, all of, like, the southern states are going to start doing that in the north. I don't know what's going to happen. But that's just what we're going to have to do. And, you know, I got a lot of comments on my last video when I talked about Brazil, and they're like, you don't know anything about Brazil. Brazil is so dangerous. It's this, it's that. It's the murder capital of this, and that. Is it? I mean, is it really? Because there was about 50,000 murders in Brazil last year, and with abortion alone, the U.S. murdered over 600,000 babies. So, I mean, which one's really worse? If I were to have to put it on a hierarchy, abortion would be way up here. Murder is bad, 100%. I mean, yes, and they do have a lot of crime in their cities, but they also, so do we. I mean, I wouldn't even go to Chicago. Like, my nephew was just there, and I was just like, oh my gosh. Well, like, because he's a dentist, and I'm like, really, is that where y'all have to have y'all's meeting? Like, that's crazy. Like, there's so many other places. But, I mean, I was up there for Navy boot camp, but I have zero desire to ever go back to Chicago. I mean, it's become just like crazy land. But anyway, my point is, people don't think that Brazil's going to be anything or do anything. Brazil is completely debt-free, meaning they sell more than they owe and all of these things. Whenever you look at all of this stuff, their military is very strong for the size that they are at this point. But you have to think about, all they would have to do is team up with those around them. Venezuela, right next to them, has the biggest oil reserves, all the gold, all the coltan. Brazil has all of these mineral resources and everything. And if you don't understand how the mineral resources work, actually, let me talk about that because people still don't understand that. You see, the U.S. doesn't have any oil. Like, like, you can't say our oil. We don't have any. That sounds crazy, right? We don't. Citgo does. Conoco, Chevron, they have oil. We don't. And see, that's the difference between what goes on in North America and South America when people say, oh, there's socialism, and there's oh goodness, it's just not true. Their socialism is much different. Like, especially in Venezuela, their resources, like their police officers, their roads, their politicians, their this, their that, all that is paid for by their oil, by their gold, by their coltan. Their natural resources pay for it. They don't have an IRS like we have. But the media spins that because they don't want people to understand that. Our media works for big oil, big pharma, big agri, all of these places. But that's not the point. Let's get into what he said at the UN meeting. It's just very interesting. Y'all tell me what you think.
We believe that the traditional nuclear family is the very foundation of civilization, and human beings' freedom is only made complete with freedom of worship and freedom of expression. The future of Afghanistan is also cause of deep concern for us. We will grant humanitarian visas to Afghan Christians, women, children, and judges. The pandemic has caught everyone by surprise in 2020. We do regret all of the deaths that took place in Brazil and worldwide. I have always advocated that we should fight the virus and unemployment at the same time and with the same sense of responsibility. Isolation and lockdown measures left a legacy of inflation, particularly in foodstuffs all over the world. In Brazil, to cater to the needs of the low-income population who were forced to stay at home by decisions taken by governors and mayors, people who lost their income, we granted an emergency aid of $800 to 68 million people in 2020. May I call to mind that we came to the end of 2020, the year of the pandemic, with more formal jobs than was the case back in December 2019, thanks to the actions led by our government, such as, for example, programs to ensure employment conditions and income, which have cost us nearly $40 billion. This year, in the first 7 months alone, we created nearly 1,800,000 new job posts. May I also call to mind that
If you didn't catch that, he said that he will only be letting in Afghanistan Christians, women, children, and judges, which makes sense. And you see all this stuff that they're putting up there to try to make him look bad? So crazy.
And 80% of the indigenous population have already been fully inoculated for COVID. By November this year, all citizens who have chosen to be vaccinated in Brazil will be duly covered. We support vaccination efforts. However, my administration has not supported a vaccine or health passport or any other vaccine-related obligation. Since the pandemic started, we have supported doctors' professional autonomy in the quest for early treatment measures, in line with recommendations issued by the Brazilian Federal Council of Medicine. I myself underwent early treatment for COVID. We, of course, respect the professional doctor-patient relations as regards decisions on the proper medication to be used and also the potential for off-label use. We cannot understand why many countries, together with a large portion of the media, took a stance against early treatment measures. History and science will certainly be wise enough to hold everyone accountable.
Y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. And if any would like to help support my channel, because, I'm still completely demonetized, there's links in the pinned comments and the description. Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.